Good afternoon. My name is Khalid Thompson. I'm a contemporary abstract artist based in Richmond, Virginia. Currently, I've been to DC for the past 13 years, and that's where my chops as an artist really developed. This is my hometown, Richmond, Virginia. I'm from here, and it's had a pretty powerful experience on my upbringing as an artist, and put me on the trajectory to becoming a full-time visual artist. The reason I chose abstract painting in particular and spontaneity as an approach is because being one in the moment and dealing with the energy and the power of the moment, and finding the creative spark in that and channeling that and cultivating that over time has given me a sense of great enthusiasm about what one can do if they put their emotions and intuition first and trust their instincts. So that's been a big philosophy of mine. No matter my approach, whether it's studio work that I'm doing or the live paintings that I'm often doing with musicians, particularly jazz musicians, just because a large part of my philosophy comes from the jazz musicians such as John Coltrane, Alice Coltrane, Pharoah Sanders, Cecil Taylor, Duke Ellington. The list goes on and on in terms of the jazz music that has influenced my life, and also jazz influenced music such as house, drum and bass. I listen to a lot of different forms of music, but also in addition to music, nature, music of life itself. Silence even plays a role in how I approach my artistic practice. And what I mean by that is that the movement of life, the expression of life, the pulse of life that gives birth to all things and also gives depth to all things, that constant revolving cycle and tapping into that omniscient force that is the cosmos is the main part of why I express myself. Something about cultivating that urge. Often in society, if you're a fringe individual, or if you live a lifestyle that isn't of the norm, it can often feel a little, I'll say, compartmentalized to try to move throughout society. So what art has given me, especially action painting, abstract painting, spontaneous painting, it has given me the sense of power that I can not only express myself freely without feeling marginalized, but transmit that energy to the viewer and to spectators. So whether it's in the studio or it's in a live painting setting, I'm always trying to make sure that I'm capturing the energy of the moment, the vitality, and the spirit. I always like to say that I want my work to be living on one's wall. When I first got started in the arts was probably around about the age of 17. I had run into a creative writing class and was introduced to poetry by the works of like Elizabethan period writers such as like William Shakespeare and John Donne, and the romantic periods of writing in Western literature. And that really gave me the fuel to start to really investigate my own imagination in terms of words. And it sparked in me this really strong desire at a young age to want to make a living as a creator. I was also dabbling in art at the time, but nothing had been totally concrete yet in terms of what creative path I would take. I also had a love for music, but it was more about just getting me started and dreaming about making this a career. So fast forward to about 2004, when I moved to Washington, D.C. By that time, over the time period that had lapsed, I had gotten into music, I was recording, I was emceeing, I was doing poetry. But when I moved to DC, after about a year to a year and a half, I was a bike messenger full time. And I ran into an artist who was painting on the street by the name of Sharif Mamadou. He's an artist out of the Ivory Coast. I saw him painting on the street, and the electricity and the energy and the spontaneity with which he was expressing himself was just magnetic. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. And it not only in addition to his mode of expression, what he was painting, the colors he was using. He had music playing, like Fela Kuti, and some wonderful West African music, and it just really blew me away. And I decided at that point that I wanted to reinvestigate my love of drawing. And being friends with him, I started to develop a friendship and somewhat of a de facto mentorship with him. And about a year after I met him, I started to investigate color and painting. And I transferred some of my experience from drawing into painting. I started to draw a lot of abstract forms. I dabbled in representation and went eventually full on abstract. I started applying those techniques in drawing to my paintings to give me a better understanding of the language of the medium of oil and acrylics. And it just took off from there. Once I understood the power of color, it just became a newfound passion and a newfound love for me. So since about 2005, 2006, I've been completely committed to visual art as my full-time practice, not only in terms of just practicing it, but also in terms of studying it in certain periods such as abstract expressionism, post-World War II to be exact, African-American and Afro-diasporic abstraction, artists such as Jack Whitten, Eddie Clark, Alma Thomas, Gene Davis, to bring a few examples from the Washington Color School. So I have a great appreciation, not just for the practice of art, but for the study of art and in which it developed, the origins of abstraction art and or abstract art, from artists such as Pablo Picasso, who was studying African sculpture and getting the references from it in order to develop a Cubist language that can break down a three-dimensional representational form and put it into different frames. That developmental period and how African art had an impact in inspiring abstraction in the Western art form or in the Western art practice, that has also become a passion of mine to understand, because as an African American, having one's proper place in the artistic art or historical art is very important. So I'm promoting abstraction as a whole, but also the multicultural influences that are in abstraction. And all this has been a major inspiration in my work. So one of the inspirations that I've had being an artist is working directly with people and with youth. About a year and a half ago, I started doing what I call my Painting the Moment workshops. And those workshops are exactly what the title implies. And that's that I get a bunch of people together, whether they're practicing art for years, no matter the style, or people who have never really drawn throughout their life since they were children. I get them together in a space, and along with me, we create spontaneous images that are reflective of the moment. I encourage them to express themselves fully, to not worry about what other people are thinking, but just to enjoy the creative act of drawing. And I've been doing this for, again, a year and a half, and it has blossomed into wonderful opportunities in terms of working with adults and the youth. To give a great example, Art 180, the program I do with Art 180 called Creating in the Moment. It's something I've been doing through their Atlas program. I've been working with teens ages 14 to 18 since the summer of 2020. And it's been an amazing experience, especially through the virtual format, because this has really started since COVID. And the response that these kids have when we work together, when I allow them to create and express themselves as they watch me create and express myself, the dialogue and the feedback we get, asking them questions about how they're adjusting in this world in a virtual format during COVID, how art is a form of therapy for them, what do we see in their art in terms of the energy, their unique perspective, what they may be implying in it, and I get them to experiment with abstract techniques as well as their own techniques. And it's just more to encourage individual expression. Put your favorite music on and let's create together. It's been a blessing working with Art 180 and the Atlas program and them believing in what I'm doing as an artist, and because it's definitely not just about making art in the studio for me. The live paintings and the workshops and the different products that I provide for my art is about reaching people of all backgrounds and economic situations so that they can enjoy the power of original, energetic art and also the experience of creating their own energy and their own creativity. So it's been a wonderful experience.